Hello and welcome to Your Government in Action, a presentation of Bahamas Information Services. I'm Carissa Williamson. The Bahamas hosted the 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank from June 1st to the 5th, 2026, under the theme Forging the Caribbean's Future Strategic Solutions for Uncertain Times. The event brought together regional and international delegates for discussions on development and economic growth. The opening ceremony took place on June 3, 2026 at Bahamar Convention Center, where Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis brought remarks.
We have come to a nation that sees this bank as one of our own. It was built by our region. It answers to our region. It carries the purpose of our region. We have called this gathering Forging the Caribbean's Future. It is a strong theme, but we should be honest from the start, because honesty is the only foundation that holds. You cannot forge a future with borrowed fire. The world as it is has grown smaller, not larger. Capital that once moved freely now hesitates at our shores. Our banks lose correspondent relationships, and our businesses are cut away from a financial system that the rest of the world takes for granted. We are told, often at the same time, that we are too small to matter on the one hand, and too prosperous to be helped on the other. A single storm can erase a year of our national income in one night. That same storm can disqualify us from the financing we need to recover, because a formula written in a distant capital has decided that we are ineligible because we have graduated. Let me say in the serious of terms, we do not feel like graduates when the seas around us are rising. Climate finance, when it arrives, comes late, and too often it comes as a debt burden to our state. So we rebuild, but we borrow to rebuild. And the debt we carry crowds out the schools, the clinics, and the ability to invest in other opportunities that we owe our people. This is the world as it is. You know it. I'm here to name it honestly, because no lasting progress is built on a borrowed truth. We also have to be honest about ourselves. For too long, we have treated endurance like achievement. We have survived hurricanes and pandemics, debt and downturns, and we have called that strength. It is strength. But this morning I must say the harder thing. We have been resilient for so long that we have begun to mistake survival for progress. Surviving the storm is different from changing the conditions that create it. Enduring the old order is different from building a better one. A region that learns only to survive will be asked to survive again and again and again, until survival is the only thing it knows how to do. And I say we, without exception, because the Bahamas lives with the same reality. We too have lived as tenants in a house we did not build, following rules drafted in rooms where we had no seat. I'm here as a leader who believes the time to build has arrived. Our own home. That is the truth at the center of our gathering. The global financial architecture was not designed for us. It was designed without our storms, our scale, and our future in mind. We've been tenants of this architecture across generations, and the rent keeps rising. The rules keep changing without our consent. And no outside power is coming to fix it for us. So we are left with one clear path. And I ask every governor in this hall to consider it. If we will not write the rules of our own financial future, then we will be left only to discover how to survive within the rules of others. Those who refuse to write the rules will, in the end, become tenants subjected to a state of perennial survival. There's no easier path. We simply wait for the house to repair itself. And we cannot do that.
Also at the opening ceremony of the 56th annual meeting of the Caribbean Development Bank, Minister of Finance and Chairperson of the Caribbean Development Bank, the Honorable Michael Halkitis, called for greater regional collaboration and solutions to build a stronger Caribbean future.
Forging the Caribbean's future, strategic solutions for uncertain times. Those words capture the reality of the moment in which we are living. We meet at a time when uncertainty has become the defining condition of the global landscape. Around the world, nations are grappling with economic volatility, geopolitical tensions, technological disruption, climate emergencies, food insecurity, rising debt burdens, and widening inequality. For the Caribbean, these challenges are not abstract headlines. They are lived experiences. We know what it means to rebuild after hurricanes devastate entire communities. We know what it means to confront rising costs while protecting vulnerable families. We know what it means to defend our economies against shocks that we did not create. And yet, despite these realities, the Caribbean continues to stand with resilience, creativity, courage, and hope. Indeed, the story of the Caribbean has always been a story of resilience. Our ancestors survived slavery, colonialism, displacement, exploitation, and hardship. They built cultures that transform pain into music, struggle into strength, and diversity into unity. They laid the foundation for nations that continue to inspire the world through perseverance and innovation. Today, however, resilience alone is no longer enough. The future demands strategy, the future demands transformation, the future demands bold leadership and collective action. The question before us is not whether uncertainty exists. It does. The real question is whether we will allow uncertainty to define us or whether we will define the future ourselves. And I believe wholeheartedly that the Caribbean possesses the talent, the intellect, the resources, and the determination to shape a future that is resilient, inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous. But to achieve this future, we must confront several urgent realities. First, we must recognize that climate change remains the single greatest existential threat to our region. The Caribbean contributes minimally to global emissions, yet we remain amongst the most vulnerable regions in the world to climate disasters. Hurricanes grow stronger, coastal erosion accelerates, sea levels continue to rise. Agriculture, tourism, fisheries, and infrastructure all face increasing pressure from a changing climate. Caribbean leaders and institutions continue to emphasize that resilience and climate adaptation are no longer optional. They are essential to survival and sustainable development. But, ladies and gentlemen, amid this challenge lies opportunity. The Caribbean can become a global leader in climate resilience and sustainable development. We can expand renewable energy. We can invest in resilient infrastructure. We can strengthen food security through climate-smart agriculture. We can unlock the potential of the blue economy and create industries that protect our oceans while generating jobs and innovation. The transition towards green economies is not merely an environmental necessity. It is an economic opportunity for our people. Second, we must strengthen regional unity and cooperation. The Caribbean has always been stronger when we act together. No single nation in our region can confront global uncertainty alone, but together, through coordinated policy, shared innovation, and collective advocacy, we possess a powerful voice on the international stage. Whether the issue is climate finance, trade reform, digital transformation, food security, or access to development financing, our strength lies in unity. As United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres recently stated, quote, "A unified Caribbean is an unstoppable force," end quote. And indeed, our unity must extend beyond governments alone. The future of the Caribbean cannot be built solely in parliament chambers or conference rooms. It must also be shaped by entrepreneurs, educators, farmers, artists, researchers, innovators, labor leaders, and youth advocates.
And now it's time to take a look up north with our Northern Service.
"29 graduates of the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus were encouraged to use their newly found degrees and diplomas to not only enhance their personal lives, but to help build the Bahamian economy." Deputy Prime Minister and newly appointed Minister of Education, Science and Technology, the Honorable Chester Cooper, joined other government officials, family members and school faculty, friends and well-wishers of graduates of the University of the Bahamas North Spring 2026 commencement exercise, which was held at the North Campus on Thursday, June 4th. Students graduated with diplomas, associate and bachelor's degrees in business administration, architecture, education, and science. This year's theme, honoring the journey that shaped us, embracing the future that called us. Deputy Prime Minister Cooper, along with Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, congratulated the graduates for the sacrifices that they have made, while reminding them that they are the country's greatest resources and future, and that they must answer that call with confidence.
Class of 2026, today is about you. It is about your achievement, your sacrifice, and your perseverance. And if there is one thing I hope you remember from this day, it is that what you have done for yourselves is one of the greatest investments you could ever make. You invested in your future. You chose education. You chose to build capacity in yourself. The world changes, but education stays with you always. And no one can take it away from you. And for that, you deserve to be proud. Just last week, I had the privilege of speaking at the UB's commencement ceremony in Nassau. I left that ceremony feeling deeply optimistic about the future of our country. Standing here today in Grand Bahama, I feel that optimism even more strongly. Not because our challenges have disappeared, but because every time I spend time with young Bahamians, I'm reminded that our future is brighter than many people realize. We are not short on talent, we are not short on intelligence, and we are not short on creativity, and we are certainly not short on possibility. Honoring the journey that shaped us, embracing the future that calls us, is a theme that recognizes two truths. The first is that our past is important. The second is that our future is not determined by our past. And nowhere in that lesson more evident than right here in Grand Bahama. Your resilience is well documented and shines ever so bright. And you, the class of 2026, this degree that you will receive shortly is proof that you refused to quit. And this campus tells the same story, a story of emergence in the wake of tragedy. So today, we stand here in a modern center of learning, research, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And it reminds us that rebuilding is about creating something stronger. A few weeks ago, I became Minister of Education, Science, and Technology. I've held many responsibilities in public life, but I can honestly tell you that this one feels different. It has brought me even closer to the tremendous potential that exists in our country. Since assuming this role, I have visited schools, spoken with teachers, met students, engaged with labor unions and education professionals across the country. I have seen teachers who spend their own money to help children succeed. I have met students who have overcome extraordinary obstacles simply to show up and learn. I have seen innovation, creativity, and determination in every corner of the Bahamas. And every one of those experiences have left me more hopeful than the one before. And I am more optimistic about the future of the Bahamas today than I was a month ago. And I have been reminded of what young people are capable of. And notwithstanding the numerous accolades we have in tourism and that I have had as Minister of Tourism, the truth is that the greatest resource of the Bahamas has never been our beaches. Our greatest resource has always been our people. The challenges before us in education is to unlock that full potential. So we call on you today as future business leaders, as future innovators, as future nation builders. Some of you will remain in Grand Bahama, and if my colleague, Minister Moxie, had it her way, all of you would remain in Grand Bahama. But wherever life takes you, never forget that your country needs you. Grand Bahama needs you. We need your talent, we need your ideas, we need your creativity, and we need your leadership.
Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, noted that although all 29 graduates reached the destination of completing their respective degree programs, not all traveled the same road. Some, she said, had it tougher than others.
Every graduate has traveled their own unique journey. For some, the path was straightforward. For many others, it was anything but. There were sacrifices made. There were moments of uncertainty. There were deadlines, examinations, disappointments, and obstacles that seemed impossible to overcome. Yet, here you are. You persevered, you adapted, and you pushed forward when giving up would have been easier. Because of that determination, you stand today not only with a degree soon in hand, but with something even more valuable. Proof that you can overcome adversity and achieve what once seemed out of reach. That lesson may very well be the greatest education you have received. Graduates, the world today is changing at an extraordinary pace. Technology is reshaping industries. Innovation is transforming economies. New opportunities are emerging every day. The future will belong not simply to those who possess knowledge, but to those who possess the courage to innovate, the willingness to adapt, and the vision to lead. Fortunately, those are qualities that your journey has already begun to cultivate. As you embrace the future that calls you, I want you to know that Grand Bahama is calling you as well. This island is undergoing a remarkable transformation, and the opportunities before us have never been greater. Grand Bahama is home of maritime and logistics, serving as a strategic gateway that connects the Bahamas to regional and global markets. Grand Bahama is home of events and entertainment, where culture, creativity, tourism, and world-class experiences continue to energize our economy and enrich our communities. And increasingly, Grand Bahama is becoming the home of innovation, where technology, entrepreneurship, and bold new ideas are shaping the future of our nation and our region. These are not merely aspirations, they are realities that are unfolding before our eyes. Through planned initiatives such as Innovate 242 Incubator, we will be laying the foundation for a thriving innovation ecosystem that will create opportunities for entrepreneurs, creators, and technology leaders in partnership with the Ministry of Education, Science, and Technology. Through developments such as the Afro-Caribbean Marketplace, we'll be building new pathways for commerce, culture, and international engagement. The future of Grand Bahama will require talented, educated, ambitious, young, and not so young people like you to help bring that future to life. Class of 2026, your journey has shaped you. Now the future is calling you. Answer that call with confidence. Answer it with courage. Answer it with purpose as you leave this ceremony and step into the next chapter of your lives. Know this, Grand Bahama is proud to claim you. And so today, I'm delighted to declare that Grand Bahama is now home to the University of the Bahamas North graduating class of 2026. Congratulations.
Bahamian basketball standout and successful basketball coach Yolette McPhee-McCurran, head coach of the women's basketball team at the University of Mississippi, delivered the keynote address at the UB North Spring 2026 commencement ceremony. For Your Government in Action, I'm Andrew Coakley.
More of Your Government in Action when we return. Welcome back. Minister of Energy, Utilities, and Aviation, the Honorable JoBeth Kobe Davis, highlighted the ongoing infrastructural upgrades occurring at the Bahamas Power and Light's Big Pond substation on June 16, 2026.
And I wanted to invite you out here so you can get an in-depth view of what is a part of the upgrades and the foundational work that remains to be ongoing. This is a live site. As you can see, there's still quite a number of things that they have to do to get this into service and provide that reliability that we have been discussing. Of course, I will allow the engineers to get more into the technical part of it, but one of the challenges that we've experienced over the past few weeks is the inconvenience of the outages at different times in different areas. In my budget communication, I explained that most of the outages are attributed to the upgrades, and one part of it is the fact that we are actually working in a time that was not a part of our project timeline. So our project timeline had us slated to be completed by the end of May. Unfortunately, the incident that occurred with the Pike employee had us delayed by 8 weeks, and because of that, we are now having to complete our upgrades in a time period that also have extreme heat. So what we're seeing is some of our circuits has to be offline for the work, the upgrades to be completed. Because of that, we have many of our areas operating where they would normally be with 2 circuits, they're operating under 1 circuit. That can work if it's in a natural environment, but we have extreme heat, which we would usually see in August, September. We're seeing some of that on our system May, June. And so we wanted to give you an opportunity to just see what was going on and speak to some of the team from BPL and from BGC, just so you could get more of details surrounding foundational work, the upgrades, but also to be able to provide the public with a little bit more clarity as to where this work is happening, and hopefully be able to continue to provide this transparency for the public.
Regional weather experts and disaster management officials gathered in the capital as the Bahamas hosted the 2026 Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum to review projections and preparedness strategies for the upcoming wet and hurricane season. The forum, held biannually, took place on May 27th and 28th, 2026 at the Courtyard Marriott Hotel.
It is a privilege to welcome you to the Bahamas for the 2026 Wet and Hurricane Season Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum. We are pleased to host this important regional engagement and to welcome the scientists, technical experts, disaster risk management professionals, development partners, and public officers whose work strengthen the safety and resilience of Caribbean people. I acknowledge the Bahamas Department of Met as our local host, the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology as our regional host, the European Union and the wider community of supporting partners, and every participant who has traveled here to advance the quality, reach, and practical value of meteorological and climate service across our region. For the Bahamas and for every country represented here, the work before this forum carries tremendous consequence. Weather is never abstract in an island nation. It affects whether a mariner returns safely to harbor. It affects aviation, tourism, agriculture, commerce, public infrastructure, and the daily decisions of families throughout our communities. When severe weather threatens, timely and reliable information can determine whether people are exposed to danger or equipped to protect themselves. That is why meteorological and climate services must be understood as essential public safety infrastructure. The observations, models, forecasts, outlooks, and warnings produced by our experts are part of that protection of our people and the stability of our economies. The purpose of this forum is therefore clear and urgent. It is to strengthen the information, coordination, and preparedness upon which Caribbean governments, institutions, businesses, and citizens depend as we approach this wet and hurricane season. The work undertaken here must help our region to understand the risks before us, prepare responsibility, and act decisively when conditions demand it. The climate realities confronting the Caribbean require that standard of preparedness. Our region faces hazards that can disrupt livelihoods, damage critical infrastructure, and place enormous pressure on public resources. For small island developing states, the margin for delay is narrow. The quality of our information and the speed with which it becomes useful action are matters of national and regional importance. Across our archipelago, every community must be able to rely on timely, credible, and accessible weather information. Our fishermen, pilots, boaters, businesses, emergency personnel, and families all depend upon meteorological service that is capable, connected, and prepared.
I'm Carissa Williamson, and this has been Your Government in Action, a proud presentation of Bahamas Information Services. Join us on Wednesday evenings, where we bring you highlights, coverage, and information as we continue to do what we do best, linking people and government.